Spoken about only in whispers. A dark area that spawns the beginnings of urban legends. A place where anything can happen and usually does. During the light of day, it hides just outside of view. But when the sun goes down, spirits, creatures of the night, roam free, and things do go bump in the night. It is in every state and every country, and there is no escaping it, no matter how safe you feel behind your locked doors and latched windows. So we invite you to turn down the lights and turn up your radio while we join Dave Schrader and Tim Dennis, your hosts, on a journey into the darkness on the edge of town.
Well, good evening and welcome to a Sunday night edition of Darkness on the Edge of Town Paranormal Radio Show. I'm your host, Dave Schrader. Sitting across the board from me, Mr. Tim Dennis. Good evening, Tim.
Good evening.
Looks like we have the lovely intern Robin in the studio with us as well.
We do have Ben. Hold on, let me get her mic up here. Where you at? There you go.
Where you at?
Where you at, girl?
I'm over here.
There you go.
Okay.
See, I just have to turn my own mic on.
I like that. Welcome back to the show and for sitting in with us and taking calls for us this evening. Appreciate that.
Not a problem.
So we've got some exciting stuff going on. We had a great show last night. It is up on the podcast site, so if people want to listen, we kind of went out of the realm of normal paranormal, if there is such a thing.
We went to the conspiracy theory rainbow of paranormal.
Right. It was that, but I don't know, that whole thing with the rock stars' deaths. 40 rock stars have died at the age of 27, dude. That's really bizarre.
And you know, you want to hear something even more ironic, and a lot of people probably already know this, but yesterday, as we were doing the show, news reports were coming in about a plane crash with Travis Barker from Blink-182 and DJ AM. They both survived a plane crash yesterday, but I guess one of them is in critical condition.
Yikes. Are they 27?
I don't know how old Travis Barker is.
That may be why they survived it.
That could be.
Not 27. But anyway, it was an interesting show. We talked about the weird Paul McCartney is dead rumors that took place in the 60s and early 70s, and fleshed that out with our guest, R. Gary Patterson. He's the author of a couple of really great books. The Walrus Was Paul, which is about the great Beatle death clues on a bunch of their albums. And then his second book was Take a Walk on the Dark Side. And it talked about rock and roll's legends, myths, and curses. We're going to actually have him back on the show in October because he's got some great paranormal celebrity stories as well to share with us. So check out our podcast. It's up every night within moments of the time the show's over. We have it up and ready to go so you can actually download the shows and listen to them, and they're commercial free.
Within half an hour to an hour of the time the show is over, you will have all 3 hours of the podcast.
Very cool.
Yep.
Hey, Tim.
Yeah.
We got our Halloween party coming up.
Oh, we do.
This is exciting stuff. We're going to be out at the Haunted Palmer House in Sauk Center, Minnesota. I hope that you'll join us. It's Halloween night on October 31st. We're going to go out there. I think the party officially kicks off at about 9 o'clock. Check in. There's going to be contests for costumes. We also have a deal with the Palmer House, which includes your room and a ghost hunt. But it's for the first 17 people to sign up on this deal because there's only 17 rooms available.
Yep. We've
sold, I think, about eight of the rooms at this point, so there are still rooms available if you are interested. Go check out our website at darknessevents.com. Here's how it'll work. Other people are welcome to come and attend the party. You can pay to attend the party and be a part of the costume contest. You get drink coupons, free snacks while you're there, or d'oeuvres. That's French.
D'oeuvres, yes.
We're going to have that going on. And then if you elect to take the room, you get one of the rooms in the hotel for the night. And then at 1:30 in the morning, when everybody leaves the bar and we close down, the place goes dark, and we're going to ghost hunt the Palmer House. Ooh. It'll be Tim, myself, Nicole Remini. We've got Susan Cummins, our book critic, will be with us. We have Adrian Lee all the way from England will be here ghost hunting with us, and he is a paranormal investigator out there, a historian as well. And let's see, who am I forgetting here? I think that's everybody, right? Susan, Nicole, Adrian, Bree, you, and I. So we'll all be out there investigating the Haunted Palmer House Hotel, so I hope you'll give it a check. Again, you can go look at it at darknessevents.com. Also check out darknessevents.com for all the other great events we have coming up, like our trip to Rolling Hills Sanitarium, which takes place in November. And we're going to be out there with the cast of the brand new paranormal show that airs on October 17th on the Travel Channel. We're going to be there with the Ghost Adventures crew. Then in May 2009, we still have tickets available for the Waverly Hills event that we're going to do, which is another amazing place. But in between now and then, we have this coming up weekend, actually, I'm going to be out at the Mid-South Paranormal Conference in Louisville, Kentucky. So hopefully I'll get to meet a lot of listeners out there. So come on out, check it out. There's links on our website. and Gettysburg in March, right? March. Gettysburg event that's going to be phenomenal. There's a lot of great celebrities that are going to be out at this event. How I got invited, I have no clue.
Yeah, luck of the draw?
I know. It must have been. So it's going to be a lot of fun stuff. All that's up on our website. Go take a look at it, darknessevents.com. We're going to get started. Yes, Tim?
I was just going to add, last night, I said, I did a 180 here. I said I was going to dress as a pimp at the Halloween party. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking strawberry shortcake.
Wow.
If I can find a strawberry shortcake costume in my size, I think I'm going to ghost hunt in it because I've never heard a ghost giggle on a recorder before. So I'm going to try and get an EVP of a ghost giggling and going, wow, that's really strange.
That might frighten the ghosts out, Tim.
Me in a strawberry shortcake costume?
Yes. Come on, let's face it.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to get into it this evening with our beautiful national news correspondent, Bree Sanders, calling all the way from Kansas City, Missouri. Is that right?
Yes.
All right, there we go. Hey, Bree, how are you this evening?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
Good. You out on the road or are you at home ready to talk to us about the news?
I'm at home.
You're at home. Wow. Catching her at home with her news stories ready to roll. So
Right.
Let's get started. Where are you going to take us? What part of the world are we starting off here in the United States? What part of the world in the United States? Such a dichotomy.
Well, first I'm going to start off with a story about a movie that's coming out, or I think it's in pre-production right now.
Okay.
It's called The Men Who Stare at Goats. It's based on a book entitled Goats. The movie is set in Iraq and features Ewan McGregor. At this point, I'm assuming that won't change, but he plays a reporter, and it also features George Clooney, who plays a man who claims to be a secret United States military soldier who is psychic. Now, the movie is about the secret army unit that creates soldiers with paranormal powers, and it doesn't say too much about that, but what I do know is the title. It's supposedly a real thing, and the title, The Men Who Stare at Goats, refers to the idea that they can kill a goat just by staring at it.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's using psychic warfare then?
Basically, yeah, which is kind of scary. It's a scary thought, but yeah, that's pretty much all it says, and I think it's in pre-production, like I said, so they'll be working on that soon, and at this point it also features Jeff Bridges and Kevin Spacey, so it should be fun.
Ooh, good cast.
Yeah.
All right. What else do we have going on?
On the subject of army units having supernatural powers, I read this article this week about something that the Army is involved in right now. They apparently dished out about a $4 million contract for what they're calling these thought helmets. Now, the helmets basically will use brainwaves as a means of communication between troops. So basically, they're trying to capture the specific brain waves that happen when you just kind of walk around talking to yourself.
Yes, I know that feeling too well. And as the father of 6, I spend a lot of time talking to myself. Why did I have all these damn children anyway?
Well, when you're doing that, your brain is producing these specific brain waves, and they're trying to capture those. And then they will use this software that translates the brainwaves into audible radio messages. So it's basically like a radio without a microphone.
Oh, it's really interesting. And Tim, I was just talking to Professor Lloyd Auerbach last week when I was out at UNIVCon, and he was talking about this gentleman too. And this sounds kind of similar, Bree. He's like a quadriplegic, I believe, and they've implanted a chip on his brain that speaks to his computer, so he can move his mouse just by thinking about it. Wow. And he can click and type and do all the stuff just by thinking about it. So it sounds like that kind of technology, and that's being used now in Army reconnaissance?
Wow, yeah. They're basically saying, well, there's a lot of controversy over it because I guess the scientists involved are kind of being accused of, it kind of messing with the soldiers' minds and all that. But they're kind of responding saying that the system, you have to actually be willing to do it. And because everybody's brain is unique, the system has to be trained to read your mind specifically. So it basically can't be done against your will or without your cooperation. But it's so weird because what it's saying is soldiers could send a message to whomever they want to just by thinking of the message and who it should go to.
Wow, so it's like a psychic email.
Right. It's weird. It's weird stuff.
Now we're going to have to get like spam blockers for our brain.
I was just going to say.
How sad am I going to feel when I'm sitting in like a crowded place and all of a sudden I start getting those Viagra ads popping up in my mind?
Or you're in the middle of a battlefield and you get that thought, would you like to be larger?
Well, yeah, they actually say at the end of the article that they kind of mention, what if instead of having the Bluetooth for your phone, you have like a headset so you don't hear people having their phone conversations. They can just have them. But it is scary. It's kind of like the things that randomly pop into your head. Are those going to turn into...
Oh, yeah. See, that would be bad.
Someone,
I'll be like arrested for porn spam constantly.
Be in prison.
No doubt. Tim, now you said that they're kind of working on a project like this at the U of M here in Minnesota?
Something similar to what you were talking about that Lloyd Auerbach was talking about, where people who have systemic diseases like MS or Parkinson's can actually use something similar to that, where they are able to think and be able to control things like their computer or their mouse, or even something similar to hands. They're working out like little robotics that they can use with their mind as well. Now, I saw that story probably about a year ago at the U of M, and I don't know how much further they are on it, but it's definitely intriguing technology. That's for sure.
Very cool. Yeah, that's awesome. I'd love to get more information on that. So if you flesh out anything more for us on that, Bree, and if there's any correlation, I'd like to know more about that on an upcoming show too.
Okay, yeah, definitely. Right. They're saying I think it should take about at least 10 to 20 years. So.
Since we're talking about weird Army stuff, have you guys seen this optic uniform that they've created? Tim, have you heard about this?
No.
It's like fiber optics, okay? And what they've done in the front, it's really strange. The back of the uniform are tiny cameras. The front of the uniform are these fiber optic screens. So it's projecting what's behind you on the screen in front of you. So it gives you that Predator cloaked look.
Weird.
Yeah, so people are actually able to hide in plain view now because, they could stand right here and the camera's recording what's behind them, so it appears that they are not there. It's really crazy technology. Yeah, so it's
strange.
What we're going to do on eBay, we're going to get one of those suits and be hanging out in the Vikings cheerleaders.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's right, baby.
Skull Vikings. Yeah.
All right, Bree, where are we off to next?
All right, I just have some celebrity news to share. David Blaine, the magician, is going to hang upside down above Central Park for about 60 hours, which is, I guess, 2.5 days this coming week.
Okay.
Now, I don't know how this is going to work, but according to doctors, he could actually go blind from this. I guess.
Well, I guess that's not the way I choose to go blind.
What's he doing while he's hanging upside down?
Yeah, exactly.
It's going to make him go blind.
Well.
All right, the blood's going to all rush to you. I would think he'd have an aneurysm and possibly die from a blood vessel bursting before he'd go blind.
Well, I guess you could. Your blood pressure increases so much, especially in your eyes, that he could temporarily or permanently go blind. And it even does things, it says it, makes your internal organs swell. It's actually a pretty dangerous thing he's doing. But so we'll see how that goes. I don't know.
It's an optical illusion. He's going to wear that suit, so it's projecting him, so it really looks like he's upside down, but he's right side up. What do you think?
Right.
Really, that's nuts. When is he going to do that now?
I'm not sure on the day. I think it's this coming week at some point. So I'll look that up. But
wow. I think if he's going to hang upside down in Central Park, we had to count how many times he gets mugged in 60 hours.
Give me your money, fool. All right.
Also, just some little notes here. Stephen King, the author of well-known horror, novels like The Shining, turned 61 years old today.
Wow. Happy birthday, Stephen King.
Happy birthday, Stephen King. And also, Bill Murray, not to be confused with Bill Murphy.
Right.
Bill Murray, who played Peter Venkman on Ghostbusters, turns 58 years old today.
Oh, very cool. Happy birthday to Dr. Peter Venkman and Mr. Stephen King. That's cool. Well, I'll tell you what, Bree, what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. We're going to bring the lovely Susan online. She's going to do her book review, and we're going to return back with more news right after that, all right?
Okie dokie.
All right, bear with us. You guys, you're listening to the Darkness on the Edge of Town Paranormal Radio Show. We'll be back with more international's last night. Are we time traveling, Tim?
Yeah, we are.
Good. All right, good deal. Set the Wayback Machine. We're going to be back with more national paranormal news and with our book review from the lovely Susan right after this. Good evening and welcome back to the Darkness on the Edge of Town Paranormal Radio Show. I'm your host, Dave Schrader, joining us now all the way from beautiful, sunny Seattle, Washington, the lovely Susan Cummins. Good evening, Susan.
Good
Good evening, and it's not sunny here.
It's got to be sunny there. It's my fantasy world.
It's rainy.
All right. Now, we got a new book that we're talking about tonight, right? And we're going to be talking about The Historian.
Yes,
Okay.
and I want to talk like this in my very bad moose and squirrel accent.
Very good. So what's our story about here?
The Historian, oh my gosh. Okay, for a lot of people that love Dan Brown's Da Vinci Code, they're going to love this book. Anyone who loves vampires, history, go get this book. Other than it's very, very long, it's fascinating. It takes you all over Europe to Budapest, Hungary, all over the place. And you can smell the dust in the books. I mean, it's beautifully written.
Great. And so it's a vampire historical story?
Yeah, it blends fiction, nonfiction. Sometimes you think she's talking from experience, and it jumps all over the place. It's one of those books to where it starts in 1930, then it jumps to 1950, and then 1972. But it's amazing. And for people that love vampires, and I've been a huge Anne Rice fan, the story of Dracula, we've heard it many, many, many times. This is just so exquisitely written, it just brings you right back there again.
Now, is this more of a historical accounting, or is it more of a horror movie kind of feel to it? I mean, is there scary, jumpy spots, or is it just kind of a cool vampire story?
It has historical value. It really is, again, like I said, it's got the nonfiction woven in, true stories of Vlad, Vlad the Impaler, as most people know Dracula to be. Mm-hmm. And then it also blends, Bram Stoker's version, and throughout the book, they keep making reference to it. So it does have the eerie. It has The Walking Dead in it. And it's colorful. The characters are beautifully written, mysterious. Again, it's just a little long, but I loved it.
Now, is this a series of books, or is this a one and out?
No, the author, Elizabeth, and hopefully I pronounced her name right, Kostova, it's her very first book, but it's a bestseller. She even wrote, I think they re-released Bram Stoker's Dracula, where she wrote the foreword in it. Okay. But this is her first book. I see it as a movie, hopefully not so long. I don't know how they can get, everything in that needs to be in there. But it's just, I enjoyed it. I couldn't put it down. I was up at night reading it, in the morning reading it with my coffee. It was wonderful.
Great. Now, okay, so out of 1 out of 5 stars, what are we giving this book?
I'm going to give it 4.5 stars, simply because, or 4.5 ghosts, simply because, little bit long.
A little bit long, but other than that, it's a great read. Okay, well, that's good. Now, you also said in the email you sent out to me, it's also in hardcover, paperback, and audiobook, right?
All of the above, Cool. And I read up a little bit on the audio. It has 5 to 6 very famous actors that are doing the voices, so I'm sure it would be fascinating to listen to.
All right, and again, give us the spelling of the last name of the author so people can...
The last name is, and hopefully I pronounced it correctly, but it's Kostova, which is K as in kangaroo, Ostova, first name Elizabeth. It was released in 2005, published, I say, in 2005, yeah.
All right, great. Well, thanks a lot for that. We'll look forward to talking to you next week in a brand new book review.
Everybody go out and buy it. It's absolutely
Do you know what you're reading for us next week so people can go out and read the book with you?
You know what? I really love the fact I've been getting a lot of recommendations. So I have a few that I am staring at. I just, believe it or not, finished with a book we talked about tonight. So I'm going to have to hop on one of these other books. So I haven't decided yet.
You know what? I'm going to make a recommendation to you right here on the radio, and I recommend this for the listeners to pick up this book as well, and maybe we could talk about it in a future show. It's called Nevermore. And it's written by somebody named William Hertzberg or something. It's very Norwegian, but it's a fascinating book, and it sounds similar to this. It's a real life, it's a murder mystery that uses real life characters, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle and Harry Houdini, and puts them in this fictional world and doing what they do, but it interweaves real history and everything. It's a fantastic story, so I'd highly recommend people pick that up, and I'd love for you guys to weigh in on it and what you think. Don't let me pressure you into thinking it's great. just because I say it is, and well, this is my show and all. So.
Just
Well, I'll
yours?
tell you, I love history, and again, for people that
abuse
love
me, Tim.
history, you'll love the book. You'll love the book, and I love history, so yeah, I will definitely look into Nevermore.
All right, good deal. Thanks a lot, Susan. Take care. And again, Susan's book review will be up on the website, so you can just go to darknessradio.com. Click on the book and movie reviews. You'll see Susan's updated book review right there for the historian. And if you want to recommend any stories for Susan to look up and read as well, you can do so there. We're going to go back to our national news correspondent, Bree Sanders. Bree, are you with us?
I'm with you.
Okay, Bree, so let's go back now and get a little bit more of the weird news of the world. What else is going on out there?
Okay, well, I've been seeing stories about sightings of all kinds of things recently. It seems like it's going on a lot. There was a story about, in Blackstone, Virginia, actually, there have been sightings recently of what people are believing to be cougars or, mountain lions.
Okay.
There have been at least 15 different sightings in the last 5 years. Now, this isn't only by residents of the town, but even there's a nearby Army National Guard base, and they've even seen them there. Now, supposedly all big cats, the cougars, they were wiped out in the eastern United States over 100 years ago, with the exception of a few that still live in Florida. But it's kind of interesting. I don't know, if they're seeing one animal or if there actually are some there. Who knows? It's strange.
Wow, okay. So now, are they thinking it's a ghost beast?
They're calling it a ghost cat. That's kind of the name for it, is ghost cat. But, I don't know. I don't know if they didn't say they actually think it's a ghost, but they're calling it a ghost cat. I guess it's just elusive. I don't know.
All right, very cool.
But, yeah. So, and on the subject of sightings, there was actually a werewolf sighting in Texas recently.
Well, that's a bad state to have to be a werewolf. Everybody's toting rifles in their truck.
Right. Well,
and they're allowed to go through drive-through liquor stores, aren't they, Tim?
Oh, yeah,
You're allowed to have open liquor and rifles.
Nothing like open liquor, rifles, and werewolves.
Poor dumb werewolf.
Can you stuff a werewolf and put it on your mantle?
Well, if you buy him dinner and take him out for a movie, maybe. I'm sorry. Go on.
Anyway, it was pretty creepy reading through it. The man that described it, I guess he wasn't a resident of the town. It was Caddo or something, Caddo, Texas.
Okay.
Caddo, Texas. Apparently, he was driving down the road at about 10 o'clock at night, and in his headlights he saw what looked like, he described it as a bear kind of hunched over, sitting in the middle of the road. And then he said all of a sudden it stood up on its back two legs. It was just huge, and it took off into the woods kind of in this weird leaping motion. It's just a strange description. He said that it literally looked like what you would see in a horror movie, like this really huge, long, dog-like snout, large pointed ears, and a leathery, shiny face. And he even said it had a menacing look on its face. So he was really scared.
Hey, Tim, mystery solved. That's where your prom date ended up, in El Cato, Texas.
I knew it. She's been hiding from me for years. That restraining order won't stop you, baby. I'll find you.
So now he saw this. How close up to the car was it? Did it say, or was he just driving it?
It doesn't say. But it says at first he was just kind of intrigued that there was a bear in the middle of the road because it was just sitting there. And then I guess the way he described it, it kind of had his back to him. So when it stood up, it turned to look at him, and it was on these two legs, and it was just really strong and scary. And I guess he just got terrified, So who knows? I don't know how close it was. I just know that it was in his headlights because it was nighttime. So.
All right, bizarre. So if you're in Texas, be careful. And, if you're going to drink beer, drink Coors because it's known as a silver bullet, right, Tim?
That's right.
So you could just chuck a six-pack out the window. It'll take the werewolf out or get him drunk.
The National Weather Service has declared a severe werewolf warning for Cato, Texas.
Yes.
Very good.
Oh, yeah, and it didn't say if he'd been drinking, so who knows. But anyway, on to the next. There have been several UFO sightings I've read about lately, and they're very typical in Roswell, but there was one recently in Roswell Monday night that was seen by several people. And actually, it's interesting because the article explains that the city is planning on building a $25 million UFO museum, which should open in about 3 years. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Wow. That's a lot of money. Okay, so that's going to be in the next few years in Roswell. Yeah. To have a museum that has no real relics or artifacts in it. Here's some tinfoil that kind of looks like the balloon that was found by... Oh, interesting. All right, why don't you drop one more on us and we'll take another break here.
Okay. There was another UFO sighting this week, and it was in your home state of Minnesota. Now, apparently on Friday night, several people in Park Rapids, Minnesota, claimed to see a UFO. They described it as a bright, yellowish-orange ball of light that kind of danced around, and it got brighter and brighter. Kind of sounds like what the article said about the Paulding Lights last week. But anyway, one woman even said that she saw a tail on it, like a tail of fire. But there's an astronomer who lives in that town that didn't see the, reported UFO, but he actually thinks he has an explanation for it. And he has studied for 27 years. He supervised an observatory. And he said he's seen this before with people mistaking Jupiter or Venus for UFOs, and they even thought that they were moving. And I guess it's very common. He says that it was not a UFO. It was most likely Jupiter. It could even look like it's moving around if there are objects like clouds or planes in the sky, because it throws people off. It makes it difficult to judge motion and can make objects that are actually still appear to be moving. So that's interesting.
What a buzzkill that guy is, huh?
Yeah. He says he's been a, astronomer for 50 years. He's looked in the sky on a nightly basis, and he's never seen a UFO.
All right.
My guess is it was quarter tapper night at the VFW.
Yeah.
That's what was going on up
and
there.
It was
in Park
drunk
Rapids.
Larry up on the roof lighting his gas again. Is that it?
He was taking a lighter to the old behind.
All right, we're going to take our break and let Bree try to recompose herself from our silly antics. Stay tuned. You're listening to the Darkness on the Edge of Town Paranormal Radio Show. I'm your host, Dave Schrader. We'll be back with more Bree Sanders and national paranormal news. Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Dave Schrader. You're listening to Darkness on the Edge of Town Paranormal Radio Show. We're here every Saturday and Sunday night, 9 p.m. to midnight. Right now, we're going to go back to the lines with our beautiful and lovely, talented national news correspondent, Bree Sanders. Bree, we have about 7 minutes left, so let's hit some good stories. What do we have left here from around the United States?
Okay, we have a story. The recent Metrolink crash in California. This has been kind of all over the news. It was a horrific crash that occurred on September 12th.
All right, it was like a commuter train and a freight train hit, right?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
That's what happened. I think it killed 24 people.
Oh, horrible.
And it's terrible. Anyway, the family of one of the victims, his name is Chuck Peck, is claiming that their relative, this man, placed calls to each of them from his cell phone after the crash, which they now know actually killed him on impact. Basically they're saying it's his fiance, his son, his stepmother, his brother, and sister. And they all said that they received calls from him, and I guess their phone would ring. They'd answer it. It would say, Dad or whatever, and it would just be static. And they'd try to call him back, and they'd just go straight to his voicemail. Now, this went on. They got over 35 calls from him, at least 35 calls. And this went on over a 12-hour period.
But he was actually killed on impact, so...
He was, but they hadn't found him yet. He was in the first train car, and they hadn't found him, and at a certain point they called off the search, and it went into a recovery search, which they assumed everyone that they hadn't found was deceased. But right after they did that, his phone rang. So they found him, and he had died on impact, but they never found his phone.
Wow.
It's strange. It's really strange.
That's unbelievable. Well, I shouldn't say that. That's kind of one of the stories that got me involved in the paranormal. My aunt had received two or three phone calls from my grandmother after she passed away. And phone calls from the dead has always been something that has inspired me in this field. And there's a great book by D. Scott Rogo called Telephone Calls from the Dead, and it kind of traces stories throughout the United States of people receiving phone calls and things like that since their passing. And I guess it's actually gotten really big with us. Tim, do you remember who told us, one of the investigators' friends that we have, they were investigating a home. They took the lady out of the home. They set up all their equipment. Do you remember this story? They set up all the equipment. They were out to dinner, and her cell phone started ringing, and it was her home calling her.
I do remember the story. I don't remember who said it.
Yeah, that's bizarre. So it's right along those lines. Well, that's interesting. Wow.
Yeah, I guess it happens pretty frequently. It's strange.
Bizarre. All right, where we got to next?
All right. Next, we have this story that's kind of been all over the news about this pastor from Kenya. I think he's from Kenya, and I hope I pronounced this correctly. It's Pastor Musi.
Okay.
Do you know how they pronounce that? Basically, he's an African evangelist who Sarah Palin, McCain's vice presidential nominee, credits with helping her become the governor of Alaska through his prayers. I guess he's spoken at her church, given, sermons at her church over 10 times. He did these prayers over her. She actually describes, that he laid his hands on her, and he didn't even know that she was trying to become the governor. She said he was such a bold man. He just prayed for her to make the next step, and then it worked. She thinks that it worked, at least. And it's pretty crazy, his history. Basically, he formed this witch hunt, back in the day that he founded his ministry with. He basically accused this woman in Kenya of causing car crashes through demonic spells. And there's a group that made a video called Transformations where he speaks about the fight that he had, in quote, with a demonic presence. He claims to have prayed with his followers and fasted until, quote, the Lord showed us a spirit of witchcraft resting over this place. And he says, the video says that 6 months he prayed with these people, and through prayer and research, they identified the source of the witchcraft as a woman named Mama Jane, who lived in the town. And her alleged involvement of, I guess she did fortune telling, and she lived very close to the site of, I guess, a bunch of fatal car crashes were happening, and she lived right near there. And it led him to believe, or to declare her a witch, and that she was responsible for everything bad that was happening in this town. And he ordered her to offer up her soul for salvation and leave the town. Now, he actually, it was like a crusade, that he was going after this woman, and they set up kind of round-the-clock prayer until they called it the demonic influence was broken and she left town. He had people so convinced that she was a witch that the town actually turned on her and wanted to stone her. And the police raided her home. They actually shot her pet python because they believed it was a demon. And she was questioned by the police eventually and released, and then she just took off and left town. But, it's interesting after this.
So what you're saying is there's hope we can get rid of Hillary Clinton once and for all. We just sick this cat on her or what?
I think it might work. I don't know. Basically, according to these people, after this happened, the crime rate in the town dropped to 0. It's just, I think the guy, he's basically a very influential person. He's a very convincing person, but it's interesting, she credits him with her becoming the governor of Alaska.
Wow,
So,
because he's that much influence with the big man upstairs and prayed for her in. Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, now we know how it's done, Tim. We got to call this guy, and that way, you may not have to wait till hell freezes over to get that date with Tyra Banks.
Oh, it can happen now?
That could, if this guy prays for you, obviously.
Hey.
Yeah, just a thought. Something to think about. All right, what do we have next? We got about 2 minutes left here.
Okay. This is just a little story I saw this week that caught my attention. Did you hear about the ship? There's a ship that washed ashore in Alabama after Hurricane Ike that, just washed up on the beach in Fort Morgan. And authorities believe that it could be a Civil War ship that ran way back in 1862. It ran aground. Or it could be another ship from, some other time. But the ship's, it's big. It's 136 or 137 feet long and 25 feet wide. And they're debating, over which ship it could be. Some think it's the ship called the Monticello, which was a battleship that partially burned when it crashed trying to get past the U.S. Navy during the Civil War. And others think it's the Rachel, which wrecked in 1933 because I guess there's something like steel lines on it that weren't on the Monticello. So they don't know which ship it is, but it's definitely everybody's interested in it going down and seeing it. It's kind of cool if you look it up online. So there's that. That just kind of caught my attention.
Oh, that is strange. So this ship just came out of nowhere and washed back up on the shore.
I guess there was another hurricane a couple years ago that, I guess it partially came on shore, but Hurricane Ike made it completely come up on shore. And
was it underwater and the storm just kind of blew it back up, or was it just it's always been out there floating and we never knew about it?
It was underwater. I think that it showed up a few years ago.
Okay.
It showed up and then, was just partially exposed. And now it's fully exposed on the beach. And it's just a big pile of metal and wood, but it's interesting. They don't know what it is. So.
All right, very cool. Well, Bree,
yeah.
As always, thank you very much for sharing some great stories. We'll talk to you again next Sunday and have hopefully a whole new slew of weirdness to talk about.
Right. Well, hey, thank you guys, and I just want to say thank you to everybody that sent me stories through the Darkness Radio website. I appreciate it, and keep doing it, please.
That's right. You can go over to the Darkness Radio website, go to the news desk, and there you'll find a link to Susan, to Adrian, and to our Tech Talk specialist, Bill Murphy. If you have specific news stories that are national, you can send them to Bree, international over to Adrian. And if you have any new weird ghost hunting equipment you'd like to put out, then send them over to Bill Murphy at Tech Talk. Which reminds me, stay tuned because we're going to be back in a few minutes. We're going to be back with Bill Murphy live on the line doing Tech Talk, talking about a whole new piece of equipment that's going to be pretty interesting and may start to help garner more paranormal evidence. You're listening to Darkness Radio. Good evening. Welcome to the Sunday night edition of Darkness on the Edge of Town Paranormal Radio Show. We're here with you every Saturday and Sunday night from 9 p.m. to midnight. Thank you for joining us and being a part of our weekend. We appreciate the time that you spend with us. Listen, if you can check us out online, darknessradio.com. You can also join into our live chat. We have a link right there. You can join in with other like-minded people in the paranormal field that want to share their stories and experiences, and it's a nice little community. I hope that you'll join us. It's a great group of people live in the chat room. If you have questions for our guests as well, please, Tim is in the chat room. All you need to do is private message Tim the question, and we will try to incorporate it in the show. You want to write this phone number down as well, because we're going to be opening up phone lines later on, and that's the way you can call in this evening and ask questions to our guest. And we're going to go right now, Tim. This is kind of a new little segment for us.
Yeah.
We parted ways with Mr. Bill Murphy last week because he's kind of tied up with a new television program series he's involved with, but he's agreed to come on once or twice a month and do some tech talk. Mm-hmm. We had a chance to talk the other day. He was telling me about a really cool piece of equipment or some new stuff that's coming out. Mm-hmm. So I asked him to come share. This is his first week with us in Tech Talk. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Darkness Fold. The one, the only, Charlie Murphy.
Charlie Murphy!
Mr. Bill Murphy, good evening, sir.
Good evening to both of you guys. How you doing?
Doing great, Bill.
Good.
So we're doing Tech Talk here, and you've got some interesting stuff to tell us about. What's going on in the world of paranormal technology, and do we have some interesting new stuff coming out to help people ghost hunt a little easier?
We do. Fortunately, we have some bright people out there, and one of them is Mr. Paul Bradford. And Paul is a British inventor who now lives in the U.S., and he builds experimental equipment for paranormal investigators. And I was kind of attracted to a theory he had that entities don't necessarily move at the same rate of speed that we do. As a matter of fact, when we're out at a haunted location, people often say, I saw like a shadow just whisper the corner of my eye. And it seems like they're always just out of frame of the camera or they're moving too fast. And so Paul's theory is if you set up a strobe light, similar to what you do when you set up a strobe light in front of a fan, you can't see the fan in regular light, but when you strobe it, you can see the individual blades.
Right, okay. I can see that philosophy.
He started to build his strobes, and he's getting some pretty good results. But as we all know, some people are sensitive to strobe lights, and so Paul's other theory is that the entities don't necessarily reflect light like you and I do, and so he builds infrared strobe lights.
Okay.
He makes them available to anybody. They're affordable. He doesn't stop there. He's got infrared floods. He's got camera lights.
Well, now, Bill, does I know that we don't necessarily see infrared in the regular spectrum. I mean, do we just not see it at all with our bare eye, or is it just that it's on a level that we don't recognize infrared because the cones and rods help us see? So the spectrum we're in. Can an infrared pulsating light also possibly cause any kind of brain trauma or seizures?
It should not. It is invisible to the naked eye.
Okay.
However, the infrared spectrum is, it's got some width to it, so it depends on where you're falling in the infrared spectrum. Like the military IR lights are completely invisible to the naked eye. So if they have lights set up and they're doing covert surveillance, somebody who's in the area won't even see the red LEDs. However, the consumer versions, actually, you can see the red coming off the light. And sometimes in those red infrareds, you'll see some, I think, emitted, like some shadows.
Okay.
It can actually it will create a little bit of light that you will see, but not enough, I believe, nor does Paul believe, to cause any seizures in people.
Now, you said that he was doing the work with regular strobe light for a while. Was he having any kind of effect with photography of seeing apparitions or mists using a regular strobe?
No. As a matter of fact, he was studying the way strobes were used to observe the behavior of high-speed machinery. And another example is, commercial applications where they want to see how steady something when it's like spinning and vibrating. And so they use a strobe to see how steady a piece of equipment would be.
Okay.
Paul took that approach of something moving too quick for the human eye to see, and he goes, hey, I think I can apply this to a tool that a paranormal investigator could use, and I could do it safely. So that's when he created his strobe. And his company's called Creepy Hollow. And he doesn't just have infrared equipment. He also has what's called a geophone. And I like the geophone, but not necessarily for the application that he's intended it for. The geophone is a seismic detector. It's portable. It's got LEDs to indicate how much earth movement or building movement there would be. And he intends this device to be used in an environment where people may be reporting disembodied footsteps, but it actually could be shaking in the buildings. It's almost a debunking device. However, I'm attracted to it being used for paranormal research to see if people can generate PK energy and move the sensor inside the case and then trigger the LEDs that way.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's a good device for research. And it's, people use all sorts of equipment that they try to move in balances to try to move with mind power alone. Paul's device sort of makes it really easy to train a camera on it, and it's sort of fail-safe. There's no way that the sensor will move and not trigger the lights because there's a current running through it. So,
let me go back real quick with the strobing effect now with the IR light, and you said he's having some interesting results. Is he picking up ghosts, and do you believe that maybe they are moving at kind of a fractional pace? Is that why he thinks the strobe lights are going to make them more visible?
No, they appear to move faster. They move faster than we do because if they're non-physical in this dimension, they may not be having to adhere to the laws that we do.
Oh, I've got you. Oh, so it may just be breezing past us at a quicker rate, so our eyes are not able to pick it up, but the strobe effect is essentially doing like when you're staring at a fan and you start blinking really fast, you can slow down the blades and see them individually.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's
Very
right.
cool.
To do a flash. And, there is some setup you have to do with your infrared camera to be sure you're not just going to be getting a blur. A couple things you have to consider is cover up the built-in infrared camera if you're, for your night shot video. If you have Night Shot Plus or a Super Night Shot, disable that and go to regular Night Shot because those extended Night Shot modes will actually allow the electronic shutter to remain open longer, and you could incorporate a blur that you want to avoid. So you want the fastest shutter you can. You want to disable the infrared. You want to turn off autofocus and just use the strobe for illumination.
Now, does that come with directions when you buy these products so that they know how to use that and then they can get that information that way?
I would certainly hope so. I mean, he does publish this on the web.
Okay.
And he doesn't have a traditional website, but he does have a MySpace page, which is myspace.com/creepy_hollow 2008. And then from there, he's got links where you can just, you can buy some of these devices. However, I'm going to be bringing these to the Stanley event in November. So hopefully your listeners that will be attending that event can get their hands on it. Maybe we can set up some of the stuff in some of the rooms that we investigate, and we can gauge for ourselves their effectiveness.
All right. I appreciate it, Bill. Thanks for Tech Talk this evening, and I want you to stay on board because I'm going to have you come back after the top of the hour and help me introduce our next guest, John Huckard, all right?
Gladly.
All right, everybody, thank you for listening. Stay tuned with us. We've got an amazing show coming up for you. This evening, we're going to be talking about spirit communication through the art of spirit photography, and this is kind of an amazing little venture I want to get into with our next guest, so please stay with us. You're listening to the Darkness on the Edge of Town Paranormal Radio Show.